Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jeff Reinahan, First Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Stefan Krakow, Fifth Ward.
Ann Schurshin, Sixth Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
Megan Clementi, Vandewater, Vandewater.
John Bailey, Town Supervisor. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. On tonight's agenda, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing, Town Code Amendment, Chapter 210, reference animal services. Item 2, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Dutchess County SPCA. 3, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with Arlington Animal Hospital. 4, accept the Burn Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. 5, authorize extension of SWAT agreement with the City of Poughkeepsie. 6, award a bid for the Police Department interior cleaning. 7, set a date for a public hearing, Town Code Amendment, cannabis retail dispensaries and tobacco stores. 8, resolution for Inwood Avenue rezoning. 9, authorize the supervisor to sign agreements with Granicus, Dutchess County for host compliance software relating to rental, short-term rentals. And 10 is a special consent, and SC1, accept the easements of Vassar Institute, Vassar College. With that, make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda and ask anybody to speak, so please keep to 3 minutes.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to speak on an agenda item? Doreen?
Thank you, Jay. I have a question about agenda item number 9, about the short-term rentals agreement with Granicus. So just to clarify, it looks like the total cost is going to be $7,259 for a year, but the county's going to pay $5,000 of that. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on an agenda item? If not, motion is rules.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to open public hearing number 1, in relation to chapter 210, animal services.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here to speak on public hearing number 1? If not, going once, going twice. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this to the next town board meeting on July 5th.
Any reason for that?
There's a lot of questions coming from the board that they want to ask.
Okay.
So it's a motion to put the public hearing over to the 5th at 7 o'clock.
Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Alrighty.
Brings us to number 2, Ms. Berger.
Oh, number 2. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie rescinds resolution 11-2, number 5 of 2022, which approved an agreement with the Dutchess County SPCA for dog control and housing services for the term January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with the Dutchess County SPCA to be effective on execution by both parties, expiring on December 31st, 2023, in substantially the form annexed, which will require the SPCA to provide animal control, but no housing services. And be it further resolved that the town board finds that it would not be in the best interest of the town to solicit alternative proposals for quotations for such service. And be it further resolved that the town board finds that this is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any questions on this? The reason they're doing this is they're redoing all their kennels. They had no room. So they were gonna have us leave altogether, but being that they have 3 animal control officers, we worked out a deal that they'll still be providing those services. And that is, the next item on the agenda is Arlington Animal Hospital will be taking the animals to Arlington Animal Hospital. We've taken them for many years before we went to SPCA. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Be resolved, the town board, town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement between the town of Poughkeepsie and Arlington Animal Hospital, PC, substantially the form as a contract between the city of Poughkeepsie and the vendor. Copy attached. The execution of this agreement is part of the ongoing administration of the town and requires no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor and/or the chief of police to execute all papers necessary and proper to accept the New York State Burn Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $50,000, which grant will help fund the purchase of an interactive use of force and firearms simulation system. So moved.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one?
What is this exactly?
The burn grant.
Okay.
Vest?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a simulation system.
Yep.
okay.
I'm sitting out there and we got it, it's about a year late. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town and state Poughkeepsie are parties to the Annex 3-year Tactical Team Support Intermunicipal Agreement approved by this town board by Resolution 78, Number 8 of 2020, providing for the organization and management of an interdepartmental police tactic team. And whereas through the agreement will expire shortly, the city and town police departments continue their negotiations regarding a proposed replacement agreement and seek to assure the continuing availability of the team services to both municipalities, pending on the negotiations of a draft agreement for this board's consideration. Now therefore be resolved that the execution of a contract extension is a type 2 action requiring no secret review, and it is further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute an extension of the agreement to the effect of when signed by both parties, which agreement is so extended shall be subject to a termination of 60 days notice by either party with or without cause, or upon mutual agreements of both parties, with all other terms of this agreement to remain the same. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby award the contract for the police department interior cleaning services to the lowest responsible bidder, Cleaning Services of Hudson Valley, Inc., CSHV, at the bid price of $4,777.50 per month, $57,330 per year for 2 years, and be it further resolved that this award is subject to CSHV producing all required bond and proof of coverages and promptly executing a contract on terms acceptable to the supervisor, which is consistent with the bid package documents after consultation with the chief of police and the attorney for the town. So moved.
Second?
Got a motion second. Any questions on that one?
I asked the attorneys to make sure this was a prevailing wage, and Jim said it was, so he confirmed it, but I just don't know how they're making any money. Prevailing wage for janitors, from what I could find online, was $18.45 as of 10/1/2023. I just don't see how they're making money on this deal.
And they also, right now, they're doing the city of Poughkeepsie and they're doing a college. And I actually personally reached out to him to make sure he knew it was prevailing wage. He says, absolutely.
Okay.
All of them are prevailing, yeah. Yep.
Good for us, but, All right.
That's about what we're paying. We look at overall with packages, not much more effort than we have now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie received a recommendation from the Code Update Committee that a local law amending Chapter 210 entitled Zoning to include provisions for cannabis retail dispensaries and tobacco stores should be considered for adoption. And whereas the town board has made revisions to the proposed local law in response to public comments and based on an evaluation of newly proposed and soon to be adopted state regulations related to cannabis. And whereas the revised version of the proposed local law is annexed hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim, and the town board does direct that said local law be spread across the record as if it in fact had been read verbatim. And whereas this action to amend the zoning law is a type 1 action under the New York State Environmental Review Act and an environmental assessment form, EAF, is annexed here too. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed zoning amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to the town planning board for review and recommendation. And whereas the amendment requires a public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby states that because only the town board can consider and adopt changes to the town code, that it is the only involved agency, and the board hereby declares that it is the lead agency for purposes of coordinating the environmental review of this matter pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed local law for July 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may come to be heard in the Town Hall, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And the Town Board refers this matter to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to GML 239-M. And the Town Board refers this matter to the Planning Board for an advisory report pursuant to the Town Code Sections 210-154. And the Town Board directs the Town Clerk to notify the Town Clerks of each of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239-NN. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second, any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Public youth facility, it defines that as a government or owned by a government or government subdivision or agency. Does it have to be that, or could it also be owned by a not-for-profit?
I think the discussion we had was, had to be government, but Mike, do you have that answer? We know we asked
Well,
you
the
that.
definition is we took out of the state regulations, and I believe it has to be a public entity, so a government entity.
So how do they actually, because the state regulations are less than stellar, how does it actually define it? Because a public entity could be something open to the public. It wouldn't necessarily mean that it would be owned by government, because if you meant that, you would define it that way, correct?
Potentially, I guess we would have to see how that would be interpreted. I mean, the definition is owned by a government or government subdivision or agency that is accessible to the public. So that may not be, that might be a stretch, but we would obviously look at that.
Yeah, no, my question is what do these state regulations say? Not what, I have the draft of our code in front of me. What are the state?
I believe this is what the state regulations say.
Okay, so
I believe it's taken from there.
this is
Yeah.
exactly out of that then.
I will confirm that, but I believe that is the case, yeah.
Okay, all right, just two other things. One is, I think, what is it, business highway neighborhood. Is there only one property in the town that has that zoning designation?
It's either one or two, but it's just that one small section of Route 9, just north of Spring Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest that, I don't know if that one should fit into this, just because it's a different sort of zone, and I'm not completely convinced it should have this use in it. And then the other thing is just the little plus versus the asterisk. It's hard to read. It just seems like that could be cleaned up so that's easier to, I mean, I went through to follow it and I get what it's doing, but it's almost like abbreviating where you probably don't even need to. But the two symbols are so close that if you have any problem seeing they blend together, I just think that could be a little bit clearer.
Okay, we can take a look at that, absolutely.
Yeah, and I also want to bring up the multitude of tobacco stores in Arlington Town Center, because the existing ones are going to be grandfathered in, correct?
Yeah, oh, well, yes, they would be, yeah.
Okay, because right now we've got two that are definitely within 500 feet of a church, and multitudes of ones that are too close to each other. Were we going to make any adjustments in the code for Arlington to allow them to be closer together to each other?
We can, sure. If you want to talk about what those would be, we can make adjustments between now and when the public hearing is going to be held. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'll be back.
Okay.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Whereas the town board has received an application of Robert J. Flower for Inwood Avenue Townhouses requesting that the zoning for tax parcel number 6163-03218012-0000 located at 8189 Inwood Avenue in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of approximately 33.62 acres, be changed from residential R2A to residence multifamily RM. And whereas the proposed zoning map amendment is attached here too and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive verbatim reading of said amendment and does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if in fact had been read verbatim. And whereas the change of zone would involve 33 acres and the action to amend the zoning map must be reviewed under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to the town planning board for review and recommendation. Whereas the town board has examined the seeker regulations and has determined that the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, through its site plan review and approval authority under Chapter 210 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, has extremely broad governmental powers to investigate the potential environmental effects associated with the application and the experience and capability necessary to conduct a thorough environmental assessment of the action. And whereas amending the zoning map requires a public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that, one, the town board has determined that the action should be subject to coordinated review because the proposed use of the property will, among other permits and approvals, require site plan approval by the town planning board. Therefore, the town board consents to the planning board acting as lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And two, the town board refers this matter to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to GML 239M. And the town board refers this matter to town planning board for advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. And the town board hereby defers setting a public hearing on the proposed zoning map amendment until it has received a recommendation and determination of significance pursuant to seeker and the planning board as lead agency. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee to sign an agreement with Granicus LLC for the host compliance software related to short-term rentals and an intermunicipal agreement with Dutchess County to reimburse us for part of the cost, both in substantially the form annexed. And be it further resolved, the town board further finds that it would not be in the best interest of the town to solicit alternative proposals or quotations for such service. And be it further resolved that the town board finds that this action is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
Yeah, I thought the county was paying the whole cost for Granicus.
I thought it was $5,000. Mike, did the price
Yeah,
that?
they will pay up to $5,000, and so the price for the subscription was, as Doreen pointed out earlier, $7,000 and something. So there will be a delta that we pay, which will be probably made up in fees for the short-term rentals. But
So we don't get any part of the county's occupancy tax, correct?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know, Jay, if you do, or
No, as far as the hotel tax?
Right.
No.
And is the county getting the Granicus information?
yes, the county has Granicus already. Yeah, they use that for their purposes. It's about collecting occupancy tax.
Right, so they would be subscribing to it anyway. We're just basically subsidizing it at that point. They're not really subsidizing us, is the way I see it.
Yeah. Except if we were to buy it ourselves, we'd be.
No, it allows us, it's a tool for us to do enforcement and to actually track where short-term rentals are. So we are going to be using it, and they are willing to reimburse any local community in Dutchess County that has a short-term rental local law, up to $5,000.
And is the Granicus fee based on the population, or is it just if a small town or a big town is using Granicus, is the same fee? Do you know?
No, it's not. It's based on, I believe it's a combination of population and the number of short-term rentals in the community at that time. So but I don't know exactly what the rest of their pricing fee is.
So the 7,200 is based on what they're identifying as short-term rentals?
And our population, our overall population, yeah. And the other thing too is only one of the modules of the 24/7 hotline module is not one that the county will reimburse us for. So actually, it's the address identification and the compliance monitoring are the two modules that they would reimburse us for. 24/7 hotline is one that we thought would be a useful addition because it would give us a better ability to handle complaints, especially during the off hours.
So there'll be a live person answering the phone 24/7, right?
Right.
Through
Yes.
Granicus. But
Yes.
there's no enforcement officers available 24/7.
No.
No, but there would be the ability to, for Granicus to reach out to the host, we'll have a registered host to let them know of the complaint. to take, to collect the information that we would then be able to use to do enforcement,
Okay, all right, so
Monday morning.
that's part of the service where they'll notify the host that there's been a complaint for the host to address it, and then, okay,
If it's something drastic, the host can come out.
okay.
Mike, is there a connection between that, which I know I forgot to ask, between them and the police department to get a connection? That if they need information from them?
I'm sure, first of all, if it's an emergency situation or something along those lines, that hopefully whoever's making the complaint would call the police first. But I would, but I don't know.
In the reference to them getting the contact information, the fact that we get it on Monday through them, is it the accessibility to the police department? I was just checking.
I'll
to
have
make
to
sure.
look, I'll have to get that answer to
Yeah,
you. I'm
I
sorry.
forgot to ask you that. No, I forgot to ask you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Be resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit: accept easement Vassar Institute Vassar College. And be further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the town board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
Any motion second? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Whereas as part of its construction of Vassar Institute, Vassar College is making wastewater transmission line improvements, one of which is the installation of a new line traveling generally north to south across College Avenue between residence 160 and 162 College Avenue. The acceptance of which line will allow the completion of other wastewater line installations while minimizing interruptions in service. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is designated authorized to accept an easement for sewer lines shown on plat at Exhibit A in the line by the standard form town easement and bill of sale conveying the title to the town. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item and ask anybody that speaks to please keep it to 3 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Doreen, go ahead.
Thank you, Jay. Jay, I have a question about that with the short-term rentals with the bed tax. So, did I understand that correctly? The county is not sharing any of that money with the town?
No, unless it's buried in sales tax, we do not get any of the bed tax. Some towns around, I know town of Newburgh have their own bed tax fee, but they do not share it with us.
So have you looked into that to ask them about whether they should be sharing it with you? Because I actually looked into how many, and I got this information from the county, by the way, how many short-term rentals there were for the first quarter of 2023 in the town of Poughkeepsie, and there were 47. So I don't understand why, if a bed tax is being collected, that it's not being shared with the town.
It probably falls under the same rules as the sales tax, that they don't have to, and they do share the sales tax with us, to a certain degree. But I did ask, and I've also asked and inquired about how the other towns did bed tax, because not for short-term rentals as much as all the hotel rooms that are in the town.
Okay, I may have to do some research on this myself. I don't exactly know that is accurate, but okay.
No, you said that last time, Doreen. You had said that, and I called and I inquired about it, and they said, no, they don't have to, but we're digging deeper, and you had mentioned that last time, that you thought that they had to, not that they should, that they had to share. And I don't think they share any bed tax in general to any hotels at all. I know town of Newburgh got it passed at state level, and I think it was gonna expire this year, and it got renewed. That's one of the few that's around here, and I think City Beacon is doing it also.
So then is that something that the town could pursue with the county?
The town could pursue, it's not through the county, it's through the state. And I've talked to Senator Rollison about that to see how that does work.
Okay, all right. And Jay, then my other question for you is, which I brought up a number of times, the former Dahlia project, which is now called Violet Estates, when the developer was at the Dutchess County IDA meeting, he got sales tax exemptions, anyway, he had said he was giving additional money to the town for rec department. And when I asked you last, he still had not given that money. One time I thought it was 25,000, the other time 50. But at any rate, I filed the FOIL request and I didn't see any donation yet. So do you have any update on that?
Doreen, he has not. I called him 3 times this week to try to get an answer, and I have not got a phone call back yet.
I also emailed him, Doreen, so I didn't get a response back as well. But we will keep on him.
Is that in addition to the rec fee that's required?
Yes.
Yeah, I've said this before, at the IDA meeting, there was a discussion about, the rec fees, and he was giving some other recreational fee money to the town, but that was quite a while ago. That's at least a year, probably more. So, and I know, Jay, you had said there was something about when he got his certificate of occupancy, but doesn't he have that by now?
They do have it.
They have them for some of the buildings. I don't know if they have them for all the back 2 buildings. They were out there working on fire alarms the last couple of weeks. But they're close, Doreen. They're pretty close if they don't have them, but a phone call back would have been nice. I've called. I emailed him when he asked last time. I actually started calling this week.
Yeah, and especially when, they make it sound like, they're doing this, it's a great thing they're going to be doing, and, and then they just don't do it. That just doesn't seem right to me. And then my last question is, 4th of July is coming up, and I don't know about where, all your neighborhoods, but around here, there are people who are setting off fireworks that are not, in New York State, you're not supposed to, it's still not legal to be setting off aerial fireworks. And around here, for like days leading up to the 4th of July, there's people setting this off. I step out on my porch and I can see them up in the air. So is this something that the police enforce if they're called?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll see what happens this year then. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. Rebecca?
Thank you very much. My name is Rebecca Edwards. I live in Ward 6. And just following up on the conversation with Doreen, I would just like to say that when I was a county legislator, I did call the town police on behalf of a constituent who had a neighbor who was doing commercial fireworks on their own property, and that the town police were immensely helpful with that. So I can confirm that, in fact, the community relations folks in the police department were really quite helpful in that case. I'm bringing tonight to the board copies of an open letter that has been circulating concerning the Poughkeepsie Day School site as a possible place for a municipal complex. There have been a number of objections raised over the last few months. Cost is a big one because this would require, under the plan that's still in place from November, $54 million, which would cost $90 million once you count all the cost of repaying it over 25 years. But also concerns about the neighborhood, the impact on the neighborhood, traffic on Spackenkill, and a concern that the site would not be very helpful for the police as well as for the neighborhood in terms of getting in and out of that Poughkeepsie Day School site. In addition, there's transit concerns because people even coming from other localities from New York City have to get to the courts and to the police to pay a fine or to do business, and it's a pretty remote site that not only can you not, it's hard to get a sandwich nearby or to support local businesses, small businesses in that site, but also just there's no bus service, so it would be hard for people to get there. But last, also, I think it's important to say that at the April meeting, there was some emphasis on recreation, and some of us have looked over the site to try to figure out how that would work. And it does appear that the police station and holding cells and Sallyport and those things would be put right in the middle in between a gymnasium and a theater and sports field, which would be on all sides of it, where you would be having kids' summer camp. In addition, the plan proposes to, there are 3 sports fields, outdoor sports fields, and one of those would be completely paved over for parking, and the other would be half paved over, and the soccer field would be pushed into the baseball diamond. So neither could be used, one or the other could be used, but not both at the same time. So the plan would significantly impair any potential recreational or green space use in that site. So I'll just pass copies of the letter to you, and a couple of board members have mentioned to constituents that they're not sure about the $90 million number, and that comes directly out of the town's own document, the estimated debt service schedule. So just making sure everybody has it, knows that number, where it comes from, passing a copy of that to each board member too, to make sure that you have it. Just wanted to wrap up by saying many of us are very concerned that the working group that exists now, which is a terrific step forward, find not another site to compare with or to consider also with the Poughkeepsie Day School site, but to move on. Another site is needed because the Poughkeepsie Day School site is just not an appropriate site, and the expense involved is not appropriate for taxpayers at a time when many people are struggling, and this is something we just can't afford to do. So thank you very much, and I'll just pass copies up for everyone.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else? Going once, going twice? If not, motion to resume the rules?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn. That's good.
Wait,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following: discussions regarding proposed pending or current litigation, hotel migrant suits, discuss matters which are exempt under the open meeting law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege, and be it further resolved that no action appropriate money would be taken. So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. The town board goes in executive session, 7:32 PM.